Well, folks. Gather round because today we're talking about a classic bait and switch.
You know, like when your cousin Cletus promises to fix your truck, but just steals your tools.
Except this time, it's the former President Trump, Social Security, and a whole heap of broken promises.
Back to Washington, covering Congress and the president's push for what he calls the one big beautiful bill. That budget bill adopted in the House after Speaker Mike Johnson and the president had to make some calls to Republican holdouts. After canceling the vote, the House sent members home just to have them return around minutes later and finish the job. So who held out only to get calls from the president? Well, here they are. In the end, everyone you see here switched positions, except for Congressman Thomas Massey from Kentucky there. He was the sole Republican member to vote no. Moments ago, President Trump got this question about what this bill means for your Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
The spending bill that passed last night aims to cut $2 trillion. Right. Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay? This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases, and that's with Social Security. We have a lot of people
Just set you up,
people
at that time to say waste, fraud, and abuse. So now he can touch your Social Security and say, we were just getting rid of the waste and the fraud and the abuse when you got grandma that doesn't have any place to go, when you got grandma that has no money. But he'll call it waste, fraud, and abuse. Trump's Social Security shell game. Act 1, the campaign trail fairy tale. Back in 2024, old Donnie was sweating harder than a hog at a barbecue, telling voters, I will. But here's the kicker. While he was pinky promising seniors their checks were safe, his budgets were slicing into Social Security like a Thanksgiving turkey every dang year. 47. Even at Davos, he whispered to CNBC,
entitlements? Oh, we'll be cutting those. Easiest thing.
Job. Fast forward to 2025 and what's happening. The Social Security Administration, SSA, is bleeding staff faster than a stuck pig. They're axing 7,000 jobs, 12% of the workforce, shutting field offices and leaving folks on hold for 90 dang minutes just to ask if they're still alive.
Oh, wow.
Nope. To cut Act 2, the Backdoor Butcher Job.
Hold up. Did he just hit him with the Shannon Sharp?
See that immediately when you see people that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security. Some of them are actually being sent checks, so we're tracing that down, and I have a feeling that Pam is going to do a very good job with that. But you have a lot of fraud.
All right, let's go live now with CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns. Caitlin, great to be with you. The president says they're not going to touch Medicare, Medicaid. Is this the last we're going to hear about it, though?
Probably not. What he has said today is something that he has been saying for weeks now, that he doesn't want to touch these programs. The trick is that this bill that was passed by the House last night, it does not mention Medicaid, but what it does do is it directs the various committees across the House that are dealing with spending cuts to find savings. And it especially tasks the House Commerce Committee, which oversees Medicaid, Medicare, and other programs to find over $800 million in spending. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of cuts that they want to make, and that money has to come from somewhere. So there have been proposals to at least look at Medicaid and other programs as well to see if there are ways to get those savings. Now, I asked the Speaker of the House, Johnson, yesterday if he could unequivocally rule out that they won't touch Medicaid, and he said what the president said today, which is that we want to look at waste, fraud, and abuse. The question is, if you tackle all of that, does that equal $800 billion in spending cuts and savings? That remains an open question. The devil is in the details, and you're going to see kind of this highlighted moving forward. And I should note, this is going to be a long process. What they passed yesterday was really just the start. It's just a blueprint, a framework. Now begins the really difficult work of actually putting in policy, and that also has to get a vote eventually too.
Yeah, speaking of that vote, Speaker Johnson receiving praise from the president with this Truth Social post, but this wasn't an easy win, to say the least. And now, as you mentioned, we got to see what happens in the Senate. Can we expect a fight?
That's right. I mean, before they can even get to any policy prescriptions here, you're right, they have to meld it with the Senate version, and they are two very different bills. So they are going to have to work on getting something that they can agree to. I mean, one sticking point is wanting to extend the Trump tax cuts. One sticking point is wanting to extend the Trump tax cuts.
One sticking point is wanting to extend the Trump tax cuts, whether to make them permanent, whether to make them temporary. That's a sticking point, among other things. But
it's like saying, I didn't steal your pie, I just let the dog eat it.
So let's talk about this, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job.
Not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one, and they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. And with his new tax cuts for the rich, Social Security's trust fund could run dry by 2031, 3 years sooner. So next time someone says Trump's protecting Social Security,
I'm busy. Very stable, genius stuff. Bigly important. Penguins are a national security threat. They're smuggling fish, cutting American fishermen. Look, folks, I've got the best.
Uncle Scruff, what are we doing? What are we doing?
The Dollar Tree Administration, a satirical political comedy series. Pilot episode, Penguins, Tariffs, and Other National Disasters. Cold, open White House bedroom, Donnie Dollar Tree 50s. Hair like an electrocuted weasel. Bolts upright in bed. His world's best president nightlight flickers. They were wearing little ties, briefcases. De Mañana Dollar Tree, 40s, glamorous, exhausted, stirs beside him. Who? Penguin lobbyists. Sue a penguin in a tiny suit briefcase waddles past security. The The Resolute desk is buried under fast food wrappers and a half-eaten Taco Bowls R Us taco. Donnie pokes a Sharpie-covered globe labeled Donnie Vision. Sneaky tuxedo rats laughing at me. Manana enters, heels clicking, holding a stack of papers labeled Things You Ignored. The EU called. Tell him I'm busy. Stable genius business. They say your penguin tariff is illegal and clinically insane. Illegal? I drew a wall around Antarctica. That's a Sharpie circle. Penguins are smuggling fish, undermining American jobs. White House lawn press conference. Donnie steps up to a podium labeled Truth Mostly. The presidential seal has been replaced with a McDonald's logo. Mr. President, why penguins? Folks, I have the best brain. Penguins? Total freeloaders. They plot what? Climate change. Suddenly, penguins waddle onto the lawn holding signs. Tariffs are foul and stable genius low. Screams, jumps on podium. Deploy the Marines. Sir, those are penguins. That one's wearing a wire. Penguins start throwing frozen fish. Donnie dives into a bush. Chaos. Stable. Genius. In Situation Room. Generals stare at a satellite image of Antarctica. Donnie eats a burger. Ketchup dripping onto top secret files. Sir, the penguins are unionizing. Gasps. Unions? I hate those. Ubbing temples. Just apologize. A Dollar Tree never apologizes. Outside, a giant robotic eagle sputters to life, revealing itself as a Roomba with a flag. General Hammer. That's a Roomba. Penguins ride drones, dodging the eagle. One flips Donnie the bird. Donnie watches from a window, wrapped in a MyPillow.com blanket. Maybe tariffs were a mistake. Welcome to the presidency, dummy.
And who's leading the charge? Elon Musk's DOGE squad, Department of Government Efficiency, more like Department of Getting Eliminated, hunting 150-year-old vampires, collecting checks. Spoiler, they ain't finding any. Now, the White House claims they're just streamlining fraud. But let's get real. When you fire the folks who process claims, benefits get delayed. And as any West Virginian on SSI knows, a delayed check means rent ain't paid. You tell them, yeah, like a fox protects a hen house. This ain't efficiency, it's a slow motion train wreck. And for 73 million Americans, that wreck's heading straight for their kitchen table. This is Uncle Scruffy for Scruff Tuff. Calm, signing off. Remember, if a politician's lips are moving, check your wallet. Hit that like and subscribe button. Always stay Scruff Tuff.